They don't
Got to bed a little early.
He didn't do it.
Jerome is not. I know.
Yeah.
We need to have a day of any day.
Okay.
Still two of them look a month long.
No, I think Dr. Gregson says we're going to be 2 hours.
He says go.
November 21st, I know the one about that.
Next Monday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we ready?
That might wipe it up.
This meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for May the 15th, 2012 will come to order. I'll ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. I'm going to adjust a little bit of the agenda here at the beginning. We thought there might be 1 or 2 more people here for the recognition that's scheduled for Curtis Holland, so we're going to wait just a couple of minutes on that, and I'm going to go on ahead with the public hearings. We have one scheduled, and that is for concerning ordinance 12-05. This would rezone certain property located at 2113 South Main Street from residential 7 to R20, which is residential 20, which is low-density residential, and this is for owner Matt Baggett. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to make a comment with regard to this zoning change? Hearing none, we'll declare the public hearing having been concluded, and we'll move now to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, which was held last month on the 17th of April. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Duly seconded. Any discussion on the approval of the minutes? Hearing none, if you would favor the approval of these minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. All right. Let me go on with this 2.1 now, the ordinance 12-03 on third and final reading. This rezones certain properties at 1014 and 1020 Bradley Drive, lots 7 and 8 of the Springfield Business Park, from RI, restricted industrial, to MRO, which is multiple residential and office. Is there a motion this be considered?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion now before we approve this, before we vote on this on third and final reading? Hearing none, I'll ask Ms. Watson to call the roll.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Abstain.
Mason.
Aye.
Passed 4-0 and 1 abstain.
Okay, and we'll go on and get the second reading now on ordinance 12-05. This is the matter which we had the public hearing for, and there was no public comment. This ordinance is being considered tonight on second reading, as I indicated. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second. Go ahead.
All righty. Any discussion now on this matter on second reading? Whose ward is that in? Is that Mr. Mason's?
Yes.
All right, you satisfied with that?
Yeah.
All right,
I tried to explain to the ladies best I could about it.
okay. All right. Anything further on this matter? Please call the roll.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Passed 5-0.
Okay. And now to Resolution 12-09. This accepts an irrevocable letter of credit in the amount of $21,500 for Oakton Farms Phase 3, Section 5, for its developer, Russell Fox. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, at the planning meeting, Mr. George had said we really concluded that he was doing a good job, and we'll go ahead and go along with this.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Ms. Swanson, will you call the roll?
Hubbard,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carnell,
Aye.
Mason, Head,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
All right. Well, we've given about 5 minutes for any late arrivals for the presentation that we're going to make. So now I'll ask a very special individual who is being recognized tonight for his contributions to this community through his work with young people as a tennis coach and as a teacher for quite some time. And it was our privilege last month to authorize this recognition. And so we have a proclamation that we're going to read for this, and I'm going to ask Curtis Holland to come forward and stand with me, please. Let's come over to the podium, Curtis. I'm not going to read every word of this, but I'm going to give you most of the highlights, or all of the highlights of it. Whereas Mr. Curtis Holland, through his enthusiasm, dedication, hard work, and love of the game, has advanced the popularity of the sport of tennis throughout the Springfield community. And whereas Mr. Holland has been the tennis coach at Springfield High for 26 years, and during this time his teams have achieved 10 boys district championships and 5 regional runner-ups, and 2 girls regional championships, 2 state sectional appearances, 9 district championships, and 4 regional runner-ups. And I couldn't possibly repeat that if I had to in my life. But anyway, that's quite an accomplishment right there. Whereas from 1988 through 1996, the boys' teams were undefeated in regular season district match play. And whereas Mr. Holland has for many years conducted summer youth tennis camps for children ages 5 to 18, has coordinated matches and tournaments for the Adult Summer Tennis League, and has hosted the Springfield High Alumni and the Highsmith Memorial Tennis Tournaments. And whereas Mr. Holland was for many years an employee of the Springfield Parks and Recreation Department, and where he is an outstanding teacher who has supported his students and players with unfailing kindness and generosity, and instilled in them through his example the qualities of respect, courtesy, and good sportsmanship toward others. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee, that the tennis courts at the Garner Street Park are hereby named for Mr. Curtis Holland, and shall from this day forward be known as the Curtis Holland Tennis Complex. Furthermore, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen extends its appreciation to Mr. Holland for his service to the community and congratulates him in this honor, issued this 15th day of May, 2012. Congratulations.
I'm sort of, I usually always have something good to say, but I want to thank my parents, my players, my former players. Thank the city of Springfield for allowing me just to teach tennis on those courts for all these years. Like I was telling one of my, I think McLean Sims, they were asking me just questions. I said, I don't know, I thought about was I was just having fun, having a good time, just playing tennis. It wasn't to be a coach, wasn't to teach tennis. It just, all these things just happened by accident, and a lot of people just directed me the right direction to go. And I always think of Charles Ed Highsmith when I met him when I was 17 years old, and I was playing a tennis tournament at the course below the middle school, was the old high school at that time. And he just told me that I had a pretty good game. I hit the ball well, I had great strokes. If I kept working, I could be a great tennis player one day. And he was right on that issue. And he always encouraged me, he always helped me. And when the tennis team started 26 years ago, you know, he always helped the team. And as I tell my parents and I've told my players, I said, to be a champion, as my college tennis coaches told us is that to be a champion, you got to be a team. You have a team of players, you have a team of coaches, you have a team of parents, and we have always had great community support to help the tennis team. And the Springfield Park and Rec under Leslie Dean and under Tony Phelps have really supported us using those courts over the years. And that, you know, like I said, it's been a team effort to help me to accomplish a lot of things I've accomplished. It wasn't just one person, but it was a group of people. You know, like I said, like your son played for me, your grandkids played for me, and practically all the players that played for me over the last 26 years, their family members have been a part of my life all these years. You know, like I said, Mr. Sims, who I guess who spearheaded this, his father-in-law and I played tennis together. Alex Payne there, I played tennis with his grandparents. His dad played baseball, Little League baseball with my brother. I mean, everybody that's been on social the tennis team for the last 26 years, I've been connected with their families most of my life. And like I said, and I think support of them also is the reason why the tennis team has been so successful also. I want to thank you, the mayor, board, and aldermen for this recognition. I want to thank the community of Springfield for always supporting me, and also my parents.
I tell you what, Curtis, I want you to know how much influence you do have, though. I can remember at one point here, several months back, we were discussing the tennis courts, and, you know, the budget was tight, and it was suggested at one point, well, maybe we ought to hold off on finishing those tennis courts down there. I said, there ain't no way we're going to hold off on that. Let me just tell you what, because I knew not only would Curtis be here, he'd bring a room full with him too. I'll tell you that. So we were going to make sure that that stayed on the agenda. Of course, it passed without any problem. So again, congratulations. All right, we move now to the administrative portion of the agenda. Discuss and possibly take action on the adjustment of retail electric rates for Springfield Electric due to a wholesale fuel cost adjustment by our friends at TVA. Robert, is it good or bad this morning?
Increase 0.7%.
Well, we can't give you too much trouble over 0.7%. Okay. All right. This is the correct schedule that you're being handed at this time. Is there a motion this item be considered?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right. Now, this is a matter that we consider every month. TVA used to do these things on a quarterly basis, I believe, and then they changed it to monthly. And sometimes, honestly, actually they go down. That's more rare than they're going up, however. But tell us one more time, Robert, what percent of every dollar that we collect for electricity is paid to TVA?
Right now, about 88 cents out of every dollar goes back to TVA for our power cost.
All right, so we operate the system on 12 cents out of a dollar. So this money is just flowing through. If we didn't raise these rates, we couldn't stay in business long, because virtually all of the, at 88% of every dollar is going to TVA. So any comments now on this? Hearing none, I'll ask the roll to be called.
Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Mason.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Passed 5-0.
Okay, next is a similar request from the gas department for the adjustment of monthly rates there. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion there?
What's the,
Mr. Hall?
It's going up 0.8.
How much?
roughly?
0.8, okay. All right, any comment on that? Hearing none, then we'll call the roll.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Mason.
Aye.
Passed 5-0.
Okay. Now, item 3.3 is to discuss and possibly take action on an agreement between TVA and the City of Springfield for the allocation of shared operational costs. Is there a motion this be considered?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Gardner, our Director of the Electric Department, would you come to the podium and just explain for those present and exactly what we're doing here?
TVA every now and then conducts a review of shared operational costs between a municipality and a power distributor. They haven't done one in the City of Springfield in a long time. Actually, it's been 1990 was the last time a study was done. But in the last couple of years, TVA has made it clear that they're going to kind of step up their regulatory role and oversight of power distributors. So this is kind of the fallout from that. So they came in and done a study of the joint costs shared between the electric department and the city general fund, and it's determined that the monthly inequity to the electric department is $4,994.12, so roughly $60,000 per year. We've had several meetings with TVA between myself and Mr. Nutting and Ms. Jane Murphy and David Crane and the accounting staff to make sure that the costs were being properly allocated. And TVA's first version of this was a little bit more, but you know, these things work through compromise or just kind of a shared compromise between the department and the electric department. So we were able to reach an agreement between the electric department and the city and TVA, so everybody's in agreement. And that's about it.
So these shared costs were actually helping the general fund to the tune of about $4,900 a month, is what you're really saying. That's going back the other way. Is that
That's
right?
correct.
Okay. Does everybody understand that?
Sort of.
Sort of. There are certain costs, for example, in the accounting department, where the accounting department has to handle various accounts for all of our city government. That's one of the efficiencies of our government, is that it's able to do for the gas department what it does for the electric department, water, wastewater, and the general fund. So those are shared costs. But in order to keep those in the right perspective and with the right percentage for the shared costs, some adjustments have to be made from time to time, and that's what this is.
That's correct.
Is. Okay. Any questions now? Got your motion.
Yes.
Please call the roll.
Mason.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Snyder.
Aye.
Pass 5-0.
Okay. Now, the next item is to discuss and possibly take action on a request from Springfield Electric to retain attorney Mark Smith of Miller Martin Attorneys to negotiate a new pole attachment agreement with Comcast. Is there a motion this be taken under consideration?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Gardner, would you explain that, please?
Okay, we have had a pole attachment agreement with the cable TV company since there's been a franchise in the city of Springfield, and it basically just spells out the terms and the price that they pay us to attach to our poles. And the first pole attachment agreement was back in the 80s, and I think they paid $6 per pole per year. That was negotiated in the, I think, late 80s or early 90s to $9 a pole. It's been $9 a pole for 22 years, and it's, of course, our pole maintenance costs and our operational costs have gone up substantially since then, but Comcast is unwilling to increase that pole charge, and been trying for the last 4 years to negotiate a new pole attachment agreement with them, and they really basically just been getting the runaround and haven't gotten anywhere, and right now we're operating without a contract. So that means that we could actually tell Comcast to get off our poles, and they understand that, but they don't want to increase the pole charge any more than what it already is. So we've tried, and there is a formula that municipalities use. It's called the FCC telecommunications formula that takes into consideration the amount of space you occupy on a pole, the cost to maintain and operate that pole, and And all those factors go into the calculation of what the pole charge should be for your system, because every system doesn't have the same pole charge. And we arrived at a figure of about $16.31. And of course, Comcast really balked at that, and they said we were really trying to take advantage of them, increasing our rates from $9 to $16. But of course, it's been 22 years since we had done this. And basically, they just refused to sign it and been kind of stalling, and we are not going to get anywhere with them. So there is an attorney, Mark Smith, who has negotiated pole attachment agreements for several municipalities. He's very good at it. He's actually done some legislation on Capitol Hill for pole attachment agreements between municipalities and cable TV companies. So he knows this up and down. He knows the insides and out of what that FCC formula entails. And I think if we get Mark Smith engaged, I think he can really get us a much better rate than what we got right now.
So it's your recommendation that he be employed to do this?
Yes, it is.
All right, and what's the cost of this to us?
Well, I would hire him at a not-to-exceed fee of $20,000, but he's estimating between $5,000 and $7,500. He says all that depends on Comcast response when we get him involved. I think they would be much more respectful, of course, of him, because he's kind of the Bart Durham of the pole attachment industry. So I think he could probably pay for itself if we were to spend worst case up to $20,000. I think we'd make that up in a year, because that's what we spend.
All right.
One quick question.
I need to do some bashing. How dare Comcast to balk on you? I wish they had some competition. When they feel like raising their rates and stuff, understand me? You see, so personally, I wish they had another cable competition where they'd take those rates down. And so, yeah, to get back at them, yeah, I would pay $25,000.
Ms. Snyder?
Mr. Gardner, the municipalities around us, do we know that they're in that $15 range?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Well-
We're one of the lowest in the whole state of Tennessee.
I concur. I think it's time for Comcast doesn't mind raising your bill.
Definitely, yeah.
I believe NES pays, I believe their rate is around $21 a pole. Clarksville and the surrounding utilities is averaging around $15 per pole. Comcast knows that. They're just trying to drag this out for as long as they can, keep from paying.
Maybe we should collect some back pay too.
Since we've been without a contract. Yeah,
21.
I think I'd try to look at that if I were this attorney. All righty, other comments or questions pertaining to this matter?
How much long has it been working without a contract, Mr. Gardner?
How long have we been without a contract? 4 years. Too long.
So they've just continued to pay the old amount during that time? Is
Yes,
that correct?
they keep on paying every year, and they happily pay the $9, but they don't want a contract. But
I bet they are happy.
we need a contract with them.
Delighted.
All right. What's your pleasure, lady and gentlemen? You ready to vote?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go get them,
Call the
Mr.
roll.
Gardner.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Mason.
Aye.
Passed 5-0.
All right, Mr. Gardner, we've got one other matter coming up that you've got. You know, you've got a pretty high percentage of the costs of this meeting tonight.
Isn't there a limit
These
per
others are going to say
department?
we're giving you a lot of attention.
Dominating.
This is item 3.5, to discuss and possibly take action on the facility charge that Springfield Electric charges for street and ball field lighting. Go ahead now, Robert.
This is very much related to TVA kind of being more of a regulator. They're looking at all the costs that we share with the city, and there's one element of that. We pay a facility, the general fund pays a facilities rental charge for all street lighting. It's paid through the Public Works Department and through the Recreation Department for all street and ball field lighting. And for years, that facilities rental charge has been 11%. They did a study that says it needs to be 12%. In some years, it's been 13%. So they're saying we just need to bump it up 1%.
1%. Okay. Is there a motion then this be considered? Motion needed.
So move.
Second.
Second, all right.
We went to sleep.
Now, comments on this.
Bumping up TV, I want to bump them down, but I go on.
This doesn't affect any electric rates, security light rates, doesn't affect any rates at all that citizens pay to the electric department.
All right, electric, our standards for the street lights, they're not metered, so how is the charge then assessed?
Well, a component of the street lighting investment charge is based on the amount of kilowatt hours each one of those lights consumes per month.
Okay.
It's an average figure based on 730 hours per month that light is on. The operation and maintenance of that light, the cost to install that fixture,
Okay.
that's all averaged into this formula that TVA uses, and that's where they get the total install cost. So if you look on that sheet, street lighting analysis sheet, our total investment for 2010 is about $1.2 million is our total street lighting investment. All the figures under that, you see the cost come from lamp renewals, O&M, taxes, depreciation, all factor into that total street lighting investment cost. And then the facility charge is calculated from a percentage of that.
Okay. So when you say that, that's the capital investment in there, the poles, the lines, all of that.
Right, whatever it takes to put that street light up and operate it and maintain it.
All right.
So will this increase the amount that the general fund is paying for street lighting and that kind of thing?
Yes,
That's what this does?
yes.
Okay, any questions now? Okay, please call the roll.
Head,
Yes.
Carneal,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Mason, Hubbard,
Aye.
passed 5-0.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gardner. 3.6 is to discuss and possibly take action on a recommendation from the City of Springfield's Traffic Committee to post a no-through trucks sign at Experiment Station Road from US 41 south over to the old Greenbrier Pike. You have a staff memo on that. Is there a motion this be taken under consideration?
So moved.
Second.
All right. I know Dr. Barry Sims, who's now come in. We waited for you a while, Barry, for the other recognition, but we're glad you're here. And he has requested that this action be taken. It's been approved by the Traffic Committee. Am I correct on that, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions on this? Okay, got a motion?
Yes.
Okay. All right, if you would favor this change, vote aye when your name is called. If you're opposed, vote no.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carneal,
Aye.
Mason, Head,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Okay, 3.7 is to discuss and possibly take action on a request from Hastings Architectural Associates for compensation in the amount of $10,150 for their extended construction services on the Highland Crest College campus project. You have a staff memo. Is there a motion that we take this under consideration?
So moved. Second.
Okay. I'm going to ask our city engineer here, Mr. Brewer, to explain this. Go ahead, David.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hastings has requested additional compensation due to the fact that the substantial completion date on the Highland Crest College campus was June the 1st of 2011, and as of today, we still have not closed out that project. So they have, over that time, they've helped facilitate between the owners and the contractors on several issues that have arisen during the warranty periods, and to resolve those, and they're still working diligently to help resolve an HVAC system issue. So as an owner's representative, I feel that it's a fair and just request for their extended work.
How much is left in the contingency fund on that project?
Well, as of today's date, we've got just over $300,000 left in our budget.
Okay.
There's a couple more items that we will have to pay out. Well, at least one more. We got some tree trimming that we got to get some dead trees out around the site. There may be an issue with the HVAC that we will have to spend a little bit more money on, but until that takes place, I don't know how much that will be.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Brewer?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
We're still under budget.
We're still very much under budget.
Is this our portion? Is the county having to pay?
The county will pay half of this, and
Half of
and,
this?
yes, and the
Half of the
bill-
10,000.
Right, and the
Okay.
Building and Grounds Committee has already approved that request.
It appears that a lot of these items were caused by contractors and errors or things they had done or not done. Can any of these contractors be held responsible for this?
Unfortunately, by the contract, no, they cannot.
Let me hear that
Lawyer on
again.
this.
Sir?
I missed that.
No, they cannot be held responsible by the contract that we have with them.
And if we don't approve this, what happens?
We don't pay them.
Has the county approved this?
Yes, they have.
Okay. Any other questions? Please call the roll.
Carnell,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Mason,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
passed 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Now, 3.8, discuss and possibly take action on an agreement with EPA for sewer system overflow corrections. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Aye, second.
Mr. Nutting, do you want to give an overview of this problem?
Well, thank you, Mayor. As like most older cities, we have some serious problems with our sewer system. We've identified overflow situations throughout the city, and the EPA is going to order us to correct those overflows, infiltration and inflow. And the proposed budget calls for a bond issue to be issued in the amount of $6 million. It could be more than that, it could be slightly less than that, but I think it'll be every bit of that and probably more. So what they're asking us is the form of the decree, and there is either an administrative order or a consent decree. And I believe that the mayor and Mr. Balthrop, and Mr. Lee Masters, myself, Ms. Holt, we've been in conferences with the EPA, and it is the recommendation that the administrative order be the option. And I think Mr. Lee Masters has explained the benefits for that, but we're going to have to get this work done within about a 5-year period. So that'll require hiring consultants to design it and get the projects and the situations corrected fairly rapidly within a 5-year period.
Okay, questions?
A mandated issue.
Pardon?
This is definitely a mandated issue.
Oh, yes, it is.
There's not a lot of choice on this.
That's
I
true.
mean, certainly there's some problems that are attributable to the age of the system, and that's common in many places. But it's something that after a point, they're going to slap your hand and say, you've got to take care of it, and of course, you ultimately pay for it as consumers of it. That's because all of your utility entities have to operate in the black and by state law. So whatever these costs are, of course, they can be spread out over a period of time with paying for them with bonds, but you ultimately still have got to take care of the problem. Are there other questions or comments?
Mr. Balthrop has a comment.
Jim, did you have anything to add to it? This is Jim Balthrop, our city attorney.
I don't really have anything to add. We just need to be sure we get it done within 5 years if we go the administrative order route.
Okay. All right, you're being asked to approve that route in solving this problem with EPA. If you favor this, vote aye when your name is called. If you're opposed, vote no.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carnell,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Mason,
Aye.
passed 5-0.
Okay. Now, 3.9 is a request from the Robertson County Chamber of Commerce to amend their original parade permit application for Taste of Country to include the Taste of Country 5K run. You've had the memo which explains this and shows the route of the run. Is there a motion this be approved?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Mason.
Aye.
Carnell.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Snyder.
Aye.
Pass 5-0.
Okay, now, next page, 3.10, is a request from Springfield Police to submit an application for a Justice Assistance Grant. It's referred to commonly as a JAG grant. This does not require any match from the city and would be used to purchase certain needed equipment for the police department. Chief Thompson, do you have the idea now as to what you're proposing to be purchased?
Yes, we do.
Go ahead.
Yes, we do. We've got some firearms in particular that are at the point where they're literally becoming unusable. Some were purchased in the 1980s. They're suffering stress fractures and cracks and things of that nature. We're going to replace some of those. We've got shotguns that are 30 years old that need to be replaced. We've also got some weapons used on the tactical unit, MP5s that are also, 4 of those have become unserviceable just because of time.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at here initially on this particular grant.
Okay. Are there questions?
No.
Oh, we need a motion on this, excuse me, first.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right. Now, any comments or questions from anyone? No local grant is required. No local contribution is required as part of this. All right. Ms. Watson, please call the roll.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carnell.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Mason.
Aye.
Pass 5-0.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. 311 is to discuss and take action on a house and property located at 2506 Queen Anne Court. This has been discussed numerous times. You have the city manager's memo explaining the current situation and what the request is. Is there a motion we consider this?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Now, questions, comments?
Mr. Ellis, can Ms. Ellis give us an update?
Mr. Allen Ellis, our Public Works Director.
Well,
you want-
let me say one thing. This
Go ahead,
relates
Mr.
to
Madden.
money that we've already borrowed last year. We tried to purchase the second house, and Mr. Batson bought the house. And we've still got problems we have to deal with out there. The board, our recommendation to the board is that we take no specific action tonight. Alan recommends that we have an engineering firm look at this. The $57,000 cannot be spent on a study. It has to be spent on improvements because it was a capital outlay note. So we have the money set aside to take some sort of deliberate action with regard to this. The engineering costs related to the study can be funded out of our stormwater account and can be reimbursed to the general fund from that account. And I think that's going to be under $10,000. Alan?
As you know, when this was put on the agenda, we didn't have a storm that we had this weekend.
We have one.
Which created another major problem. What I've done since then is contacted Gresham Smith and Partners out of Nashville. They had done a project similar to this in Clarksville. In fact, they gave me all the layout where a sinkhole had plugged up. You may have seen a lot of it, seen it on the news. They gave us a proposal and what I was asking them to perform is just to give us 3 to 4 options with dollars attached to each option. So they have taken the engineering work that we had already done previously, about 2 years ago. We did an engineering study on this. And they have given us a letter here that they could do these options for $9,500, which falls under our $10,000 threshold. And I'm recommending that we employ them to go ahead and provide us with these options. And they have agreed, or I've stipulated in this agreement, from 30 days, but no later than the July meeting, which would be 60 days. That they would have these 3 to 4 options in front of us that you can discuss with monies attached, so we can look over it and make a decision to move forward with this project and try to correct this. As you all know, I've always been an advocate of fighting the railroad, but it doesn't seem like we have no avenue to go in that point. I guess that's about all right now, but that's what I'm recommending, that no action be taken tonight, but at least by the July, I will bring you 4 options that you can discuss, and I will have a recommendation on one of these.
All right, how bad did the water back up over the weekend?
It got up even across our road. It got into Mr. Batson's house. It did not get into any of the other houses. It got up in the yards, but not in the house.
Was the estimate of rain 4 to 5 inches, somewhere like that?
They had 3.6 at the experiment station, but a lot of folks had 5.
That's what I've been told.
White House had 6.
Okay.
It's pretty good rain.
Pretty good rain. All right, Nutty.
Alan, we're going to continue to work on the detention pond once the water gets out to
Yes,
improve
that's correct.
that.
It's ironic, we had already started excavating the dirt out of the detention area. Of course, the rain caught us. So we will continue to widen and deepen the detention pond. That's under the Public Works. We're doing that right now. And of course, there'll be several options looked at. One would be increasing the amount of detention area that you have there. And correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, we had this in the budget, but it was in like another year or two capital outlay, capital improvement.
Yeah, we carried it through from last year. It's in this year's budget, and if we have to, we'll carry it in the next year's budget.
So we're just pushing it up further, but this will get it moving and at least get some options that I think we all can live with.
Okay. All right, you mentioned the railroad in that, and I know that a number of factors have contributed to this flooding there. I mean, you've had increased runoff from other development that's in that area, all of which goes down to that same sinkhole. And the railroads having widened, the base having put in double track right in behind that, we felt like had to play the part in this as well. Do we feel like have we discussed with legal counsel whether there's any chance of recovering some of these costs from CSX? Or is it going to be as bad as dealing with AT&T on that?
I think the only way would be if somebody sued the city and then the city brought the railroad into the lawsuit.
Okay.
I don't think we have any way to sue the railroad.
Okay. I know we met with some of the engineers in the railroad out there on site back 2 years ago or less.
Not only did they fill in the detention area, which wasn't a major area, but the silt off the construction plugged the pond up.
Yeah.
Now, they did come in and attempt to clean it out, but you can't get into that cave as much as, in my opinion, you needed to clean it out.
Okay.
And that's our major contributing area.
Okay. All right, since there's no need for any action then on this tonight.
One question, can we try to have this by the June meeting? Because I know those homeowners are really, I like your plan, because I know Clarksville's been successful with it.
That's why I said 30 or maximum of July. He's going to try.
Can we do 30?
I can't answer.
Can we push him for 30, please?
You'll try, right? Get them
come on, let's.
Okay.
I can't promise.
Okay.
All right, any other comments on this? Do you need to say anything? No. Okay. All right, we move on then to the consent portion of the agenda. What's your pleasure?
Move for approval of total consent.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. For public's benefit, there are 2 items in this. First is approving the low bid in the Phase A of 2012 water system improvements. And this contract would be awarded to Cleary Construction Company, the amount of $437,925. I think there were 5 bidders on that. And then the second part of that is a much more minor item, and that is approval to award a bid for tub grinding and removal of brush at the disposal site at Travis Price Park. And that bid is recommended to go to the Alternate Energy, a limited liability corporation of Nashville, in the amount of $22,500. Is there a motion? You've already got that.
Yes,
We
sir,
just read the
second.
vote because there's no discussion on that. Vote your preference as your name's called.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Passed 5-0.
Okay, and before the city manager's report, let me remind everybody that we have our budget workshop this coming Monday, the 21st at 7 o'clock. We'll start with the general fund and work as far as we can on it. If another session is needed, we'll do that as well. Mr. Nutter.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Have a brief report. 26 blighted structures have been removed since January 1st, 19 by the owners and 7 by the city. A total of 6 unsafe structures are undergoing repair by the owners. The city has recently awarded a bid to have a contractor remove a house on 15th Avenue West, and the city contractor is in the process of removing asbestos from 2 structures on Jarrett Street, and the city is taking sealed bids for the demolition of the structures.
Amen.
Also, I'm handing out to you copies of the Phase 1 environmental site assessment for the Helen Cotton property located at 209th Avenue East. And it is a clean finding with regard to the environmental assessment. So without any other comment by the board, any other concern by the board, we would proceed with getting the assessment from this point forward so that we can close on this property by the meeting of June.
Okay, everybody in agreement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, did you have anything further now?
I did. I also wanted to give the board a copy of the letter to Mayor Howard Bradley requesting the assistance of the Robertson County Commission in providing adequate financial support for dispatch services provided at the E91 Consolidated Communications Center. There was a motion by the board at the last meeting. We've had 2 meetings with Mayor Bradley and also in 1 meeting with Mayor Bradley and County Attorney Clyde Richard with regard to this matter. And lastly, I'd like to commend the Springfield Police Department for their rapid response and arrests pertaining to the recent bank robberies. I'd also like to commend the employees of the Robertson County Credit Union and Commerce Union Bank for their exceptional conduct and level of professionalism in a very difficult situation.
I will echo exactly what you've said. I called Chief Thompson last week to express my appreciation to all of the officers involved in on this, working on these cases, and it's this just underscores the need that we see on a regular basis, that public safety is the #1 issue that we as city government have to provide first and foremost for our citizens. So we appreciate the level of professionalism that we saw in all of this, and we look forward to a rapid solution, hopefully, to these cases as they move through the court system. Other comments?
Yes, sir. I would just like to inform the city that we had 2 very intense marches regarding the recent murder in the city. Had a march, a very successful march last Saturday. Approximately 200 people marched. We had information, meeting, followed that at True Vine Baptist Church. And then we had a follow-up meeting last night with solutions, recommendations on how to relinquish the violence and the causations of this. So the community is fed up. I'm very proud of the community saying we're not going to tolerate it. And we also put special emphasis with Pastor Gardner's approval there that we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and money to really get professional services and programmatic things to relinquish this type of violence must come from the citizens. And we stress that point real heavy, grants and major cutbacks and stuff in our governmental systems will only delay this. So special emphasis that each citizen can donate something. And I just made a suggestion like $5 a week, a hamburger or something like that. So that was the general conclusion from last night's meeting. So we're inviting the entire city, because one atrocious act in this city reflects all of us. We all feel, we all absorb it some kind of way. So we're asking for the whole city to join in with different groups, and you'll be getting more information on strategy sessions and stuff. But we want to really just drive it home that we're not going to tolerate this nonsense in the city of Springfield. There's no room for it. We got a great city, and we're not going to let this cancer impede our progress.
I would add to that, Mr. Nutting and I both attended the meeting out on Saturday evening,
Yes,
Chief Thompson as well, and several of his staff. And I was very pleased with the community turnout. The church was full.
Definitely.
And I estimated to be 160, 170
Yes,
people there at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and people understand that this is a community effort. It can't be solved with the police alone.
That's true.
They are a vital part, but it takes everybody being part and people who, as they can, who can supply the law enforcement with information on these crimes. We, through the community working as a whole, with law enforcement, we'll get it solved. Is there anything further?
One point, you know, with no disrespect, but punitive action is not the answer. Prevention and intervention is the major players. I just want to drive it home.
Anything else? We stand adjourned.